Hey there everyone, welcome back to Gamevine, and my name is David, and again I have this guy with me. What's your name again?
Chris.
Chris, yes, this is Chris Earls. He's my cousin, but he's been doing a lot of reviews with me lately, and there might be a different position in the future for you.
I'm trying. I want to do as many of these as I can.
Which is very much appreciated, but we're derailing a little bit. On today's review, we're going to be taking a look at Mage Wars Academy, the core set. So, if you haven't played Mage Wars, this is the second kind of rendition. This is a core set that is more streamlined than the prior Mage Wars. So, if you haven't played it, don't fret.
Which I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good one to get introduced into the universe. I would say, at least. This is kind of like a pseudo Magic the Gathering almost.
Yeah, there's a lot of. If you've played Magic, you will probably catch on to this really quick.
Terminology is almost the same, right?
Yep. Well, the terminology between players is the same,
but if you
the way the
understand
rule books, the way the rulebook reads, you can't actually say certain terms, but
tapped.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if you know how to play Magic, you'll have a good idea how to play this.
Yeah. So, like I said before, this isn't the first Mage Wars, and this is a streamlined version where you're not really tactically moving around a board per se.
It's like player versus player.
Just like any other card game, like a Hearthstone, a Magic the Gathering, or anything you want to call it. When you're going against another player, you're just really flat out fighting each other. So, without further ado,
let's get into what comes in this box
and show you how to play. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first thing that I like the most, which is the spell books that they have per se. Now, this is the Beast Mage's deck. Now, this book doesn't have any of the cards in them. You'll put them in here, but they start with a preset deck that you can start to play. So you can draw from this book while you're playing the game, and that's the Beast Mage. And this is kind of like the Warlock Wizard Mage. I don't know which one it is, but I'm not going to go back and read it. But you get the gist of what it is. So those are the first thing that come in the set. Of course, the very high quality cardboard components, the dials that you can keep track of your life and mana for both people, and then you have all the counters that you're going to need: the guard, the charge, the wish, the stagger, and the weak, and then the initiative token. Lastly, we have the dice, and they're itty-bitty dice, but they're good enough. Oh, and I did forget to mention that they, other than the cards that you get on the predetermined deck that they build from you, they also have a whole bunch of cards that you can build your deck and customize it with. Now, there are some stipulations that you're going to have to get into. I'm not going to really go too detailed into that, but you get a handful of cards in addition to the prior decks that you get with this core set. So, now let's show you how to play this game. So now I have it set up for 2 players. You'll start with each player have their respective player cards and the anatomy of the cards here. It shows you everything you need: the life, the armor, the channeling. This is how much mana that you'll get at the start of your turn. And this is how much you'll actually start with in the beginning of the game. It also shows what kind of spells you can have in there. This is very similar to Mage Wars in itself. You're going to see a lot of patterns and similarities between the two of the games. And if you played it before, it's going to help you out. Of course, they're going to have an ability on their player card and the attack. This is how many dice they roll. This is a melee attack. It would be an arrow if it was ranged. And this is a quick ability, which you'll basically learn about later in the video. And you'll have the quick ability marker, which I forgot in the contents portion. So now I remember. There you go. And then you have your life set up for 0 damage, and or the mana if you have any starter, and he doesn't, you'll start there. And of course, you have your respective books. So on your turn, you're going to be simply doing one action with each of your characters. And once you've done one action, it will pass to your opponent, and they'll do their one action. And if you have multiple creatures, you'll continue to go back and forth until you play another round. Now, a round consists of a few things. So first you'll do the reset phase, upkeep phase, and action phase. Basically on the reset phase, you're going to do everything like past the initiative marker. Now the initiative marker is going to go to the player who rolls the highest on the 12-sided dice, and that's going to be passed between 2 players, and the person that has that will start the turn first. And then you'll just reset the characters. If any of them have been tapped, for lack of better words, or inactive, you get to activate them again, and that pretty much sums up the reset phase. Then you go to the upkeep phase, and this is where you'll do any of the abilities, regenerate. Now, I'm not going to go over all the roles and all the terminology. You can see those in the back of the book later, but this is where you'll activate all those, is in the upkeep phase. And then the action phase, this is where the bulk of the game is. This is where you can either attack, guard, or cast a spell. You can do one action with each one of your characters. Now, one of the actions you can do with your mage is to cast a spell, and this is my favorite thing about the game. You don't have to draw in this game. You have this book to draw out anything that you want. As long as you have the mana to actually cast it, you can pull it out of this book and put it in the playing field. So that is one of the actions you can take, is to cast a spell. Now the mage is the only person that can do that, and once you do that, you'll just inactivate him, lack of a better term, tap him, and now he has to go through the reset phase to be active again. So the spells that you can do is to cast a creature card. Now, when they come into play, they have a summon and sickness, but on the next reset phase, they will become active and you'll be able to do an action each time. Now, on a turn, you'll do one action and pass on to another player, and they'll do another action, and then it'll come back to you. And if you have any more characters, you'll continue to attack or do whatever you want and to go back and forth. This marker will come in play in a little later in the video. So the other spells that you have here, other than creature spells, are attack spells, and they're going to be all associated on the cards, and they'll do things like stagger, which you can get into what stagger does. It's basically just allows your opponent to miss a turn with one of their creatures. They also have incarnation spells that are kind of like healing, and you can do those, and they do different things. And they're also enchantments. Now enchantments are different because they have two different numbers up here. Now the first one you have to do is pay 2 for this one, and you put it face down. Now anytime during your opponent's turn or your turn, you can pay 2 more mana to flip this up and activate it, and you'll do the skill associated with it. Now again, you'll see both of those, and you have to pay both of them before they're active. And then lastly, you can do some kind of equipment spells as well. Now these will go on to your character and just up their abilities. Now when you spend mana, you're going to be channeling mana at the beginning of your turn, like I said on your card, and this is how much you get, and he gets 7 at the beginning of his turn, and you will just basically use it and mark it down. Now any mana that you have left over from a prior turn will stay there, and it will continue to add up. So the second thing that you can do is simply attack. Now you can attack with your mage here, you can attack with your creatures. Again, you're going to go back and forth. Every time somebody does an ability or an action, the opponent will do theirs and continue to go back and forth. Now you can summon a creature and attack with it, or you can attack with your mage as well. Now this little marker here allows you to do special stuff. Now I'm not going to go over the nuanced details, but it basically allows you to do a second action. Now when you use it, you will flip it over, and you can use it for any cards that has this little symbol on them. Now you can attack again with your mage, and or you can attack again with your creatures that have a symbol on it. Now let's say I attacked with my mage and I didn't use this, I've exhausted my action. Now with this tiny little ability, I get a second action on my turn if I choose to do so, and you can do that like I said before. Or you can use it to summon cards that have different abilities on it. So like if I have the mana to spend, I can attack with my mage and then use this little thing here, spend the mana, and then place this spell out on the table. So there's a little something that you can do with that little token. It's more powerful than you might think. So when you attack, by the way, the attacker chooses who he wants to attack, not the defender. Now there are some things that you might be able to do, though guard will come into play when it comes to that as well. So when you are attacking, you basically roll the dice, and some people might have armor, like this guy right here has 2 armor. Now you will negate this from the actual total if it doesn't have burst. Now burst is a penetration, and you cannot block that with armor, but in this case he would block this too and only take 3 damage. And the next and last thing that you can do is guard. Now there isn't anything with kind of like a taunt or anything in the game. You specifically pick a character to give some kind of defense mechanism to them. So you can, instead of attacking with the creature, you can tap it or inactivate it and put this guard token on. Now this means your opponent has to attack this character if he plays a card that's a melee attack or anything like that. Now a range can go past the guard and hit your mage, but if you have a guard on a character, most likely your opponent's going to be attacking that. Now there are other ways to get this guard off, but I'm not going to go into that. Though once they die, it goes away, and now you're able to attack whoever you want. You can put multiple guards on multiple creatures if you want, but not your mage. So you continue to do this process, going back and forth, casting spells, attacking, summoning creatures, until you can knock your opponent to 0 or below life points, and then you are declared the winner of the game. Now there are some few things that I'm going to go over card wise that I'm going to show you right now. There are things like these counters here that are very specific to cards, like the Witch counter and the Charge counter. Of course, when you take damage, you always put it on the card and it stays there unless you're able to heal. When you take damage as a mage, you just kind of check it off on this little dial. And that is the basic play. Now there is a ton of stuff that I really didn't touch on, like so much of the quick actions, the stagger, but everything has a codex in the very back, and it's so easy just to look up. You can find out what any term is, and it even has a little guide in the back so you can follow this as you play when you start. So the last thing that I'm going to go over are some of the extra cards, just so you can get a flavor, and then we're going to tell you what we think about this game. So we have this one here, a whole bunch of weapons, boomerangs, there's some pantaloons, and when you have equipment, you can only have one of a type of equipment. So you can only have one pair of pants and one helmet. There are a lot of beasts in here that you can trade out. There's a porcupine that you can use for the Beastmaster, or you can double up on a lot of these if you really wanted to. Of course, you get into some of the enchantments, which are this color, and they do two different things, and some of them have 0, so you can just automatically play them, which is pretty cool. And there's just tons of stuff that you can customize your spell book with. And then we get into the purple cards, which are the incarnations, and they have X on them, and basically it tells you on the card what you have to do to get that X number. Finally, again, we have some more attack spells. So that is Mage Wars Academy in a nutshell. And again, don't gripe too much because I didn't go over every role. This game is so intuitive. Once you get it yourself and play it a few times, you're going to know how to play it like second nature, right? So, without further ado, let's give you our scores and tell you what we think about this game. So the score for Mage Wars Academy is going to go as follows. It's going to be a letter grade and a percentage. And I settled on an 84%, which is a mid-B for me, which is high praise for a game in my book. Now, I'm not going to get into this, why I like it until I hear what you think. What do you think about this game?
I like it. It's definitely a thumbs up for me. I enjoyed the game.
2 thumbs up or 1 thumb up?
Let's do
1.5.
Let's do one. No, let's do 2 thumbs. I like
2 thumbs?
It's a good game.
Interesting.
It's a good game.
Okay, well that's good to hear. Now, before I get into the reasons why I like it, why we like Magic the Gathering.
Yes,
let's put it out there.
Right, that's probably a good point of why I do enjoy this game, is because we did start out playing Magic.
I mean, it was our first love.
Right, and this is really not far off from playing Magic.
But the main thing about this is you don't have to really rely on the heart of the cards.
The heart of the cards.
Right? I mean,
on the luck of the draw, heart of the cards, yes.
There is luck in the game when it comes to dice. But
to the dice part of it. But card-wise, you play whatever you want.
As long as you have the mana.
You pick it out, you play it.
So, you don't have to put a whole bunch of multiples in your
There's
your
no reason for that.
This is what I want.
Right, unless there is a card that works off of 2 of the same card or something like that.
So yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite things about this, is I can draw whatever card I want. I'm in dire need of a heal. Boom. Let's put it.
You got it. You don't have to wait for it.
So I mean, I just absolutely love that. This is where it hits home for me. I mean, I like card games, but drawing from the deck was one of the things that I didn't like about it. I mean, it was an unfortunate evil that you had to have there, but now you don't have to.
You don't have to worry about it.
When it comes to collectible card games or LCGs, 11 card games, it is very similar in the way that it kind of plays out attack-wise, but there is a difference because it's a bit slower.
Right, that's where the attacks gets a little different, where in some card games you can just go all out, all force.
I'm swinging.
All 12 of these monsters, you can go all at it. This one, it's not like that. You actually have to, each one has one turn.
And it's very strategic,
yes,
right?
Very.
I mean, there is some tactics in it, but you really have to strategize and watch what's going on.
Right, because you actually decide who you're going to attack.
Yeah, the one thing that we didn't touch on is counterattacks.
Right.
Like in Magic, when 2 monsters would collide, they would both take damage. Now, in this one, if there is that little quick action emblem on your card, you can choose to do a counterattack if another opponent attacks that creature.
Without killing it.
Without killing it. Now, if it kills it, the counterattack doesn't go off. But you can choose to do that, And that's, I think, really a good aspect. You don't have to go all out and damage all the time, but you can choose to do so.
And it could make the game go a little quicker.
Yeah, and speaking of quick, I mean, this game is fast.
It is. It's a lot faster than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, now the entry level, if you know Mage Wars, you're gonna be very comfortable with this. But if
for me, this is the first time I've played this, and
it took a little time.
It did at first.
There may be a downfall there because you do have to build your deck. But with any collectible card game, that's gonna come with it, right? So yeah, with that being said, the first time it kind of was bogged down. We had to read the rule book.
Yeah, we had to get everything set, get everything down.
But like I said earlier in the video, once you learn how to play and once you know what cards you're going after, it's just like
then that's it. It just goes really quick.
I love it. I love how streamlined this is. I did play Mage Wars, the board game, and it was a bit thicker of a game. I mean, you really had to kind of think about stuff and move around, and it took a little longer. Though this one
is back and forth.
Yeah, and I mean, I would recommend this one for anyone who hasn't played Mage Wars before, because this is such an easy entry level into the universe in itself. And I would say that this probably would be, this should have came out before the
I know you said that earlier when we were talking about it. I think after playing this one, I could get into Mage Wars and have a better understanding.
Yeah, the actual board game.
Probably a quicker understanding.
And I think that is this is just a great idea. I love the concept of Mage Wars in itself, and this one just hammered it home for me. I probably will play Mage Wars Arena again, but this is the one that I'm always going to go to. Now, there are some things that you can integrate with the Academy into the Arena. You can take these cards and put them into the actual player decks of those mages as well, but it doesn't translate so well. Yeah, if you have Arena and you put it into this deck, some of the cards might be over powered, and or they might, I don't know, the flow might not be as good. So, but there is that, so people might want to buy this just to have for their other Mage Wars set, but I just like this Academy. I mean, I am a big fan of this. I like card games, and this finally solved the problem of deck bog for me, where I can just pick whatever I want. Hey there, Future Dave here. I just wanted to add one more point before I ended the video, and it is about the variety of this base set, or the core set. There are only 2 mages that come in this set, and it's the Beast and the Wizard, and they're very different. I think that they both have a different flavor to them, but I think that they are balanced quite well, because I personally have one with both mages in different circumstances. So the variety, they set you up with a base deck for each mage, and it does give you a little something to get started, but they give you a whole slew of cards so you can start to add to those decks and or subtract from them in either way that you desire. But I would say I do long for more mages, but of course this is Mage Wars, and they're going to have a whole bunch of expansions coming out, but this is just something to get your feet wet, and it does a good job, and it does have me longing to play this game even more with different mages. So there's that. Back to the video. So to sum up, I love the art, I love the components, I love the gameplay, and all in all, I love Mage Wars.
Yeah, it was a really good game.
And 84 is pretty high. There were a few things, like I said, that did knock the grade down a little bit. Some of the unintuitiveness when it came to, you know, starting the game. But once you learn that,
once you get past that,
it was full steam ahead. So thank you so much for joining us on today's review of Mage Wars Academy. Really appreciate it. Hope it was informational, and I hope this gives you an idea if this game is right for you. I want to send a huge thanks to Arcane Wonders for sending us this review copy. We could not have done this review without you, and had this cool experience. I mean, this
pretty awesome.
Is really cool.
I
love this. Somebody who sleeves cards and put them in binders. I mean, give it to you. So until next time that we see you, I've been Dave.
I'm Chris.
And have a great rest of your day and a great time with whoever you play with.
Yay!
You heard it here on the Game Vine. We're out. Bye.
See ya.